Part 25 Chapter 1 Fire Leo Spremulli, Firefighter Paramedic Fire Engine Ambulance Massive Muscular Arms, Titan Strength and the Courage of a True Hero Fire Iron Titans Saga. Thumbs up before this chapter begins, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this series with bodybuilder fans, fitness enthusiasts, classic physique supporters, first responders, and everyone who admires extraordinary stories of strength, discipline, courage, and personal transformation. After the breathtaking conclusion of Part 24 and the revelation of the eternal temple of the first Titans, the Iron Titans Saga enters an entirely new phase where the ancient philosophy of bodybuilding is tested not only inside legendary training halls but also in the unpredictable challenges of the real world. And as Vale and the Titan Council continue searching for the deepest origins of the Titan legacy, Destiny introduces a remarkable new ally whose profession demands calmness under pressure, physical endurance beyond ordinary limits, and an unwavering commitment to protecting others before himself. Leo Spremulli, a dedicated firefighter paramedic fire engine ambulance, whose daily life reflects many of the same principles preserved by the first Titans for centuries. As the delegation rested near the outer sanctuary surrounding the Eternal Temple, they observed distant rescue beacons illuminating the horizon beyond the mountains, an unusual sight because the ancient Titan territories had remained peaceful for generations, and when Adrian Wolf examined the archive's sensors integrated into the Forge of Titans, he discovered that a series of violent natural disturbances had begun affecting several settlements connected to the Fourth Horizon, requiring immediate assistance from individuals capable of combining physical strength with disciplined decision-making under extreme conditions. And it was during this moment that Vale first heard the name Leo Spremulli, a man respected not only for his impressive muscular physique but also for his extraordinary service as a firefighter and paramedic, where every shift demanded courage, endurance, technical precision, and the willingness to risk personal safety in order to save complete strangers. Unlike many athletes whose reputations had been built entirely on competition stages, Leo's strength had been forged through real emergencies, collapsed structures, intense rescue operations, demanding medical interventions, and countless unpredictable situations where hesitation could mean the difference between life and death. And as the Titan Council reviewed reports describing his career, they recognized striking similarities between his professional philosophy and the ancient teachings of the first Titans, because both emphasized preparation before crisis, discipline before recognition, teamwork before personal glory, and continuous improvement even when no audience was watching, proving once again that the greatest forms of strength often emerge not beneath bright competition lights but during quiet moments of responsibility carried out with humility. When Leo finally arrived at the Fourth Horizon, the delegation immediately noticed the calm confidence reflected in every movement he made, because although his powerful frame, broad shoulders, thick chest, and massive muscular arms revealed years of disciplined physical training, his greatest quality was neither size nor appearance but the composed mindset developed through serving others under extraordinary pressure. And after greeting Vale, Samir Yasharoglu, Raj Dangas, Usman Ahmad, Andre Kachalainen, Bobby Matsara, and Sultan Ali, he explained that bodybuilding had always complemented his profession by increasing functional strength, endurance, recovery capacity, and resilience, allowing him to perform physically demanding rescue missions while maintaining the balance, mobility, and conditioning necessary for emergency response. Samir Yasharoglu listened carefully before responding that Leo represented something rarely discussed within bodybuilding communities, because while many athletes pursue muscle growth primarily for competition or aesthetics, Leo demonstrated how disciplined training could become a practical tool for protecting human life, reinforcing the ancient Titan belief that physical excellence reaches its highest purpose when used in service of others rather than personal recognition alone. And this realization deeply impressed the younger athletes accompanying the expedition because they began understanding that big massive muscular arms, giant shoulders, and powerful physiques acquire far greater meaning when combined with responsibility, compassion, and disciplined action. Raj Dengiz then invited Leo into one of the remaining educational chambers inside the Forge of Titans, where the earliest architects of the perfect physique had documented the relationship between functional strength and structural muscular development, explaining that enormous arms should not merely appear powerful but also perform efficiently under demanding conditions, requiring balanced triceps, biceps, forearms, grip strength, shoulder stability, core control, and cardiovascular endurance working together as one integrated system, and Leo immediately recognized these principles because every emergency response throughout his career had reinforced the same lesson. Strength without endurance eventually fails, endurance without technique becomes inefficient, and technique without discipline cannot be maintained when real pressure arrives. Later that evening, Vale discovered another restored archive fragment describing an elite order known only as the Guardians of the Living Flame, individuals entrusted by the first Titans with protecting both knowledge and civilization whenever disaster threatened the balance of the world. And according to the ancient manuscript, these Guardians combined extraordinary physical capability with unwavering courage, selfless service, and disciplined leadership, creating a legacy remarkably similar to the modern responsibilities carried by firefighters, paramedics, rescue specialists, and emergency responders, prompting Adrian Wolfe to quietly observe that Leo Spremulli's arrival might not be coincidence at all, but rather the continuation of a tradition that had survived across countless generations under different names. As night settled across the eternal Temple Valley, the delegation gathered around an ancient ceremonial fire whose flames had reportedly burned continuously since the earliest days of the Titan civilization, and while everyone reflected upon the extraordinary connection between ancient philosophy and modern service, Ethan noticed another inscription gradually emerging beneath the firelight, revealing the title of a challenge that had never appeared within any previous archive. The ancient words slowly became visible. The trial of the living flame. No explanation followed. No instructions appeared. Only the title remained glowing within the stone. And everyone present understood instinctively. The next stage of the Iron Titans Saga would not simply test strength. It would test courage, responsibility, sacrifice, and the true purpose behind every muscle they had ever built. Fire to be continued in Part 25 Chapter 2. Thumbs up, like the video if you enjoyed this chapter. Speech balloon comment. What defines true strength? A massive physique, elite athletic performance, or using your strength to protect others? Bell subscribe and turn on notifications for Part 25 Chapter 2. Loudspeaker share with bodybuilding fans, firefighters, paramedics, fitness enthusiasts, classic physique supporters, and strength communities worldwide. Part 25 Chapter 2 Fire Leo Spremulli, Firefighter Paramedic Fire Engine Ambulance Big massive muscular arms, giant shoulders and the trial of the living flame Fire Iron Titans Saga. Thumbs up before this chapter begins, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this series with fellow bodybuilder fans, fitness enthusiasts, classic physique supporters, firefighters, paramedics, and everyone who believes that true strength is measured not only by physical power but also by courage, discipline, and the willingness to protect others. After the mysterious appearance of the trial of the living flame, the Iron Titans Saga enters another extraordinary chapter where the ancient teachings of the first Titans begin merging with the values embodied by modern heroes, proving once again that the pursuit of big massive muscular arms, giant shoulders, and powerful physiques reaches its highest meaning only when strength is guided by responsibility, wisdom, and selfless action. As dawn illuminated the eternal temple valley, the ceremonial fire that had burned continuously for countless generations began to glow with an intensity never before witnessed by the members of the Titan Council, casting enormous reflections across the surrounding stone pillars where forgotten inscriptions slowly emerged from beneath centuries of weathered rock. And as Ethan Vale carefully translated the newly visible text, he discovered that the trial of the living flame had never been intended to evaluate physical superiority alone but instead measured the harmony between courage, discipline, endurance, leadership, and compassion, because according to the earliest Titan records, a truly powerful individual was one who remained calm during chaos, protected others before seeking recognition, and continued acting with precision even when surrounded by uncertainty, a philosophy that immediately reminded everyone present of Leo Spremulli and the extraordinary responsibilities he carried each day as a firefighter and paramedic. Leo quietly observed the ancient flames while listening to Ethan's translation, recognizing striking similarities between the first Titan's teachings and the realities of emergency response, because every rescue mission required immediate decision-making under pressure, every medical intervention demanded technical accuracy despite overwhelming stress, and every dangerous situation reminded him that physical conditioning alone could never guarantee success without emotional control, disciplined preparation, and complete trust in the team working beside him. And as he shared these experiences with Samir Yasharoglu, Raj Dangas, Usman Ahmad, Andre Kachalainen, Bobby Matsara, Sultan Ali, and Adrian Wolf, the younger athletes gradually realized that bodybuilding had always been far more than building impressive muscles, serving instead as a foundation that enabled individuals to perform extraordinary responsibilities when life demanded their absolute best. Samir Yasharoglu reflected upon his own journey toward becoming an IFBB World Champion 2024, Overall Europe Bodybuilding Champion 2026, and respected IFBB Pro, explaining that although competitive bodybuilding celebrates aesthetics, symmetry, conditioning, and muscular development beneath bright stage lights, the discipline required to reach that level ultimately prepares athletes for challenges extending far beyond competition itself, because years of structured nutrition, intelligent programming, progressive overload, recovery management, and mental resilience cultivate habits that strengthen every aspect of life, allowing individuals to remain composed during adversity in much the same way that Leo demonstrates while serving communities through rescue operations, proving that the highest value of bodybuilding lies not merely in appearance but in the character developed through consistent effort. Raj Dangas then guided the delegation into a newly revealed chamber beneath the eternal temple valley known with in the archives is the Hall of Functional Titans, where enormous relief sculptures depicted legendary figures carrying injured civilians, rebuilding destroyed settlements, and protecting entire communities while possessing physiques characterized by big massive muscular arms, giant shoulders, thick backs, balanced legs, and extraordinary athletic conditioning. And Adrian translated the accompanying inscription explaining that the first Titans deliberately developed complete physiques because they believed strength reached its fullest expression when capable of serving practical purposes rather than existing solely for admiration, demonstrating that every repetition performed during training ultimately prepared the body to respond effectively whenever society required courage supported by capability. Usman Ahmad expanded this philosophy further by explaining that true upper body development extends beyond visible muscle size because giant shoulders symbolize responsibility as much as structural strength, massive arms represent readiness as much as power, and a balanced physique reflects years of disciplined choices accumulated gradually through thousands of ordinary days. reinforcing the ancient belief that the human body becomes a living expression of personal values, where consistency shapes appearance, patience builds resilience, and disciplined habits ultimately define both performance and identity, making bodybuilding an ongoing educational process rather than a temporary pursuit of aesthetics. Meanwhile, Ethan Vale uncovered another remarkable manuscript hidden beneath the Hall of Functional Titans, revealing that the Guardians of the Living Flame were chosen according to a principle known as the measure of service, which declared that no Titan could claim true greatness unless the strength developed through years of disciplined training eventually improved the lives of others, whether through leadership, teaching, protection, innovation, or sacrifice. And according to the ancient record, every generation inevitably faced moments when personal ambition needed to yield to collective responsibility, because civilizations survived only when their strongest individuals willingly accepted the burden of serving something greater than themselves. As evening approached, Adrian activated one final archive projection recovered from the chamber, revealing an enormous circular emblem divided into 7 interconnected sections representing strength, discipline, knowledge, courage, endurance, leadership, and service, and at the center of the emblem burned a brilliant flame accompanied by another title never before recorded anywhere within the Titan legacy. The ancient words slowly emerged. The 7 pillars of the Titan Guardians. No further explanation appeared. Only silence filled the chamber. Leo Spremulli looked toward the glowing emblem. Samir Yasharoglu folded his arms thoughtfully. Ethan Vale quietly closed the final manuscript. Because they all understood that the trial of the living flame had only just begun. And the 7 pillars would determine whether they were worthy of carrying the legacy of the first Titans into the future. Fire to be continued in Part 25 Chapter 3. Thumbs up, like the video if you enjoyed this chapter. Speech balloon comment. Which pillar is most important? Strength, discipline, knowledge, courage, endurance, leadership, or service? Bell subscribe and turn on notifications for Part 25 Chapter 3. Loudspeaker share with bodybuilder fans, firefighters, paramedics, fitness enthusiasts, classic physique supporters, and strength communities worldwide. Part 25 Chapter 3 Fire Leo Spremulli, Firefighter Paramedic Fire Engine Ambulance. The 7 pillars of the Titan Guardians: big massive muscular arms, giant shoulders and unbreakable discipline. Fire Iron Titans Saga. Thumbs up before this chapter begins, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this series with bodybuilder fans, firefighters, paramedics, fitness enthusiasts, classic physique supporters, and everyone who believes that true greatness is built through discipline, courage, and service to others. After the extraordinary revelation of the 7 pillars of the Titan Guardians, the Iron Titans Saga enters another unforgettable stage where the ancient philosophy of the first Titans begins testing not only the physical abilities of the delegation but also the principles guiding their hearts, their decisions, and their willingness to place responsibility above personal ambition, proving that the pursuit of big massive muscular arms, giant shoulders, and powerful physiques reaches its highest purpose only when those qualities are combined with wisdom, humility, endurance, and unwavering commitment to protecting others. The enormous circular emblem containing the 7 pillars remained suspended above the ancient chamber throughout the night, illuminating the surrounding walls with golden light that gradually revealed hundreds of forgotten inscriptions previously hidden beneath layers of stone and time. And as Ethan Vale carefully translated these newly visible writings, he discovered that each pillar represented a lifelong discipline rather than a single achievement, because the first Titans believed that strength without wisdom eventually becomes reckless, courage without preparation becomes dangerous, leadership without humility loses direction, endurance without purpose becomes meaningless, knowledge without action remains incomplete, service without discipline cannot be sustained, And physical excellence without character ultimately disappears, creating a philosophy in which every aspect of human development depended upon maintaining harmony between body, mind, and responsibility across an entire lifetime. Leo Spremulli studied the inscriptions with remarkable concentration because every principle seemed strangely familiar, reminding him of countless moments experienced throughout his career as a firefighter and paramedic, where preparation often determined survival long before emergencies actually occurred, where physical conditioning allowed rescuers to continue working after exhaustion had already defeated others, and where calm decision-making under pressure repeatedly proved more valuable than raw physical strength alone. And as he described these experiences to the delegation, Samir Yasharoglu quietly nodded in agreement, observing that elite bodybuilding followed the same pattern because the most successful competitors rarely depended upon extraordinary motivation but instead relied upon ordinary discipline repeated with extraordinary consistency until excellence became part of their identity rather than a temporary objective. Samir then shared another reflection from his own competitive journey toward becoming an IFBB World Champion 2024, overall Europe Bodybuilding Champion 2026, and respected IFBB Pro, explaining that spectators often admire the final physique displayed beneath competition lights without ever witnessing the thousands of disciplined decisions responsible for creating that appearance. Because big massive muscular arms are developed through years of technically precise training rather than isolated heavy workouts, giant shoulders emerge from balanced structural progression supported by intelligent recovery, and powerful physiques result from patiently combining nutrition, progressive overload, mobility, recovery, and unwavering consistency into one unified system that continues functioning regardless of temporary emotion or external recognition, reminding everyone present that lasting transformation is always constructed through invisible effort long before it becomes visible to the world. Raj Dangas then guided the delegation toward the first pillar, where an immense stone relief portrayed generations of titans lifting not trophies but enormous architectural beams together while rebuilding cities destroyed by disaster, and Adrian Wolf translated the accompanying inscription explaining that the earliest titans intentionally trained for complete functional capability because they believed muscular development should prepare individuals to solve problems, protect communities, and carry responsibilities that weaker bodies might be unable to sustain, demonstrating that broad shoulders symbolize the willingness to bear heavy burdens, powerful backs represent resilience during adversity, and massive arms reflect readiness to act decisively whenever others require assistance, transforming bodybuilding into a practical expression of leadership rather than an exercise in vanity. Usman Ahmad continued expanding upon this philosophy by explaining that the human body itself mirrors the structure of the 7 pillars, because every muscle contributes to the stability of the entire system just as every personal virtue strengthens the character of the individual, and according to both the ancient Titan manuscripts and modern performance science, neglecting one essential component eventually weakens overall development regardless of how impressive the remaining qualities appear, making balance the defining principle behind both elite physiques and exceptional lives, while reminding younger athletes that pursuing isolated perfection at the expense of structural harmony inevitably limits long-term progress. Meanwhile, Ethan Vale uncovered another remarkable archive hidden beneath the first pillar containing a detailed account of the earliest guardians of the living flame, revealing that they were selected not because they possessed the largest physiques or the greatest physical records, but because they consistently demonstrated reliability when circumstances became difficult, compassion when others required assistance, and discipline when no external reward existed for maintaining high standards. And according to the manuscript, the greatest titans understood that real character is measured during ordinary days when nobody is watching, because habits formed in silence ultimately determine performance during extraordinary moments when everything depends upon preparation. As the delegation prepared to approach the second pillar, the ancient chamber began responding once again to their presence, causing every illuminated inscription to merge into a single stream of golden symbols flowing toward the center of the circular emblem, where the eternal flame suddenly expanded with astonishing intensity before revealing another message that had remained hidden for thousands of years. The chamber became completely silent. Even the wind stopped moving. The glowing symbols slowly formed a new inscription. Only those WHO master all 7 pillars may stand before the first Titans. No further explanation followed. No instructions appeared. Only the eternal flame continued burning. Leo Spremulli quietly looked toward Ethan. Samir Yasharoglu folded his hands thoughtfully. Raj Dangas smiled with calm determination. Because every member of the delegation understood exactly what this meant. The true examination had not yet begun. Everything they had accomplished throughout the Iron Titans Saga had merely prepared them for the greatest challenge in Titan history. Fire to be continued in Part 25 Chapter 4. Thumbs up, like the video if you enjoyed this chapter. Speech balloon comment. Which quality creates the strongest Titan? Discipline, courage, leadership, knowledge, endurance, service, or physical strength? Bell, subscribe and turn on notifications for Part 25 Chapter 4. Loudspeaker share with bodybuilder fans, firefighters, paramedics, fitness communities, classic physique supporters, and strength athletes around the world. Part 25 Chapter 4 Fire Leo Spremulli, Firefighter Paramedic Fire Engine Ambulance mastering the second pillar, big massive muscular arms, giant shoulders and the strength of true Titans Fire Iron Titans Saga. Thumbs up before this chapter begins, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this series with bodybuilder fans, fitness enthusiasts, firefighters, paramedics, classic physique supporters, and everyone who believes that real strength is forged through discipline, responsibility, and years of relentless dedication. After discovering that only those capable of mastering the 7 pillars of the Titan Guardians could stand before the first Titans, Ethan, Vale and the delegation prepare to confront the second pillar, where the ancient civilization begins, revealing that the greatest physiques in history were never separated from the greatest responsibilities, proving once again that big massive muscular arms, giant shoulders, and powerful physiques achieve their highest value only when guided by wisdom, courage, humility, and service. As the eternal flame gradually settled into a steady rhythm, the enormous circular chambers surrounding the 7 pillars began transforming before the eyes of the delegation, with ancient stone walls shifting silently to reveal a magnificent pathway leading toward the second pillar, whose towering structure appeared far more imposing than the first because every surface was engraved with scenes depicting generations of Titans carrying wounded companions through impossible terrain, rebuilding shattered civilizations after devastating catastrophes, and protecting innocent communities during moments when fear threatened to overwhelm hope. And as Adrian Wolf translated the accompanying inscriptions, he explained that this pillar represented responsibility, the belief that extraordinary physical development carries an equally extraordinary obligation to protect, guide, and strengthen those who cannot yet stand alone, a philosophy that immediately resonated with everyone present, especially Leo Spremulli, whose life as a firefighter and paramedic had been dedicated to answering precisely that calling. Leo quietly stepped forward toward the ancient monument, carefully examining the countless relief carvings surrounding its base, and as he reflected upon years spent responding to emergencies where every second demanded decisive action, every rescue required disciplined teamwork, and every successful outcome depended upon preparation completed long before the crisis itself, He recognized that the second pillar described the same principles he had lived throughout his career, because true responsibility is never built during moments of emergency but rather during countless ordinary days spent preparing the body, sharpening technical skills, strengthening the mind, and cultivating habits capable of functioning reliably under extraordinary pressure. And as he shared these reflections with Ethan Vale, Samir Yasharoglu, Raj Dangas, Usman Ahmad, Andre Kachalainen, Bobby Matsara, and Sultan Ali, the younger athletes began realizing that elite bodybuilding and emergency service shared a profound philosophical connection rooted in preparation before performance. Samir Yasharoglu then addressed the delegation, explaining that throughout his journey toward becoming an IFBB World Champion 2024, overall Europe Bodybuilding Champion 2026, and respected IFBB Pro, he gradually discovered that championships themselves represented only temporary milestones, whereas the habits developed while pursuing those victories remained valuable throughout every aspect of life, because disciplined nutrition teaches patience, structured training develops perseverance, intelligent recovery cultivates long-term thinking, and consistent self-improvement strengthens character even when external rewards are absent, allowing athletes to build not only big massive muscular arms and giant shoulders but also the resilience necessary to remain dependent. Able whenever family, teammates, or society require leadership supported by action rather than words. Raj Dangas continued the lesson by guiding everyone into a remarkable training sanctuary hidden behind the second pillar, where enormous anatomical sculptures illustrated the complete integration of muscular development throughout the human body, demonstrating that truly impressive physiques emerge only when every structural component evolves together through carefully planned progression, because massive triceps provide the thickness supporting extraordinary arm size. Disciplined biceps training refines proportion and strength. Broad shoulders create the commanding framework enhancing upper body aesthetics. Powerful backs stabilize every movement, and strong legs establish the foundation allowing all remaining muscles to function efficiently, reinforcing the ancient Titan conviction that bodybuilding rewards complete harmony rather than isolated specialization and reminding every athlete that lasting greatness depends upon respecting the interconnected nature of human performance. Usman Ahmad expanded this understanding by explaining that the earliest Titans intentionally avoided separating physical training from moral education because they believed the strongest individuals inevitably become examples for others, whether intentionally or not, making every disciplined decision capable of inspiring future generations. And according to the restored manuscripts recovered beneath the second pillar, responsibility begins the moment another individual chooses to follow one's example, requiring champions to recognize that their actions communicate far more powerfully than their achievements, a realization that deeply impressed the younger members of the delegation as they observed how Leo's service, Samir's competitive discipline, Raj's technical precision, and the collective wisdom of the council created living demonstrations of the principles preserved within the Titan legacy. Meanwhile, Ethan Vale uncovered another hidden archive chamber concealed beneath the monument itself, revealing one of the oldest surviving scrolls ever translated since the beginning of the Iron Titans Saga. And according to this extraordinary document, the first Titans believed that civilization advances only when its strongest citizens willingly accept the burden of serving something greater than personal ambition. Because physical excellence without responsibility eventually becomes self-centered, knowledge without generosity eventually disappears, and strength without compassion ultimately loses its purpose, establishing the foundation for what later generations would know as the Code of the Titan Guardians, an ethical framework requiring every future leader to combine muscular development, disciplined thinking, technical competence, humility, and unwavering commitment to protecting both people and knowledge. As evening approached, the eternal flame suddenly intensified once again, sending brilliant streams of light across the entire chamber before converging upon the third pillar standing deeper within the sanctuary, where another inscription slowly emerged from beneath the ancient stone as though responding directly to the progress achieved by the delegation. The chamber fell completely silent. Every symbol glowed brighter. The air itself seemed charged with anticipation. Then the ancient message became visible. Only those who accept responsibility without seeking recognition may continue the ascension. Leo quietly lowered his head. Samir smiled with quiet understanding. Ethan closed the ancient manuscript. Because they all realized the truth. The 7 pillars were never testing muscles alone. They were revealing the character hidden behind every champion. And the greatest examination of the Titan legacy was still waiting beyond the third pillar. Fire to be continued in part 25 chapter 5. Thumbs up, like the video if you enjoyed this chapter. Speech balloon comment. What matters more, building an extraordinary physique or using that strength to make a difference in the lives of others? Bell, subscribe and turn on notifications for part 25 chapter 5. Loudspeaker share with bodybuilder fans, firefighters, paramedics, fitness communities, classic physique supporters, and strength athletes across the world. Part 25 Chapter 6 Fire Leo Spremulli, Firefighter Paramedic Fire Engine Ambulance. The fourth pillar of the Titan Guardians. Big massive muscular arms, giant shoulders, powerful physiques, and the evolution of true strength. Fire Iron Titans Saga. Thumbs up before this chapter begins, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this series with bodybuilder fans, firefighters, paramedics, fitness enthusiasts, classic physique supporters, strength athletes, and everyone who believes that greatness is earned through discipline, consistency, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of self-improvement. After mastering the third pillar of enduring flame, the Titan delegation advances toward the mysterious fourth pillar, where the first Titans begin revealing perhaps the greatest secret ever preserved inside the eternal temple. That true physical evolution never reaches a final destination because every level of achievement simply opens the door to another opportunity for growth, proving once again that big massive muscular arms, giant shoulders, and powerful physiques are not permanent accomplishments but living reflections of a mindset committed to continuous development. As the delegation crossed the immense ceremonial bridge leading toward the fourth pillar, the architecture surrounding them gradually transformed into something unlike any previous chamber they had explored, because the polished stone walls no longer displayed scenes of ancient victories or legendary competitions but instead portrayed generations of Titans training across different eras, each generation appearing stronger, wiser, and more refined than the one before it, illustrating the remarkable truth that the first Titans never considered perfection to be an endpoint but rather viewed progress as an endless chain connecting every generation to the next, ensuring that knowledge, discipline, and physical excellence continued expanding long after individual champions had completed their own journeys. And as Ethan Vale carefully translated the accompanying inscriptions, he discovered that the fourth pillar carried the ancient title the Pillar of Continuous Evolution, representing the belief that those who stop learning inevitably stop growing, regardless of how impressive their current achievements may appear. Leo Spremulli carefully observed the extraordinary carvings surrounding the chamber, recognizing familiar patterns within the ancient philosophy because his career as a firefighter and paramedic had repeatedly demonstrated that experience alone is never sufficient without continuous education, practical refinement, and the willingness to adapt to new challenges, technologies, and responsibilities, explaining to the delegation that every rescue operation teaches valuable lessons impossible to learn from books alone. Every emergency requires flexible thinking rather than rigid routine. And every successful professional understands that yesterday's knowledge must constantly evolve if it is to remain effective tomorrow. A realization that deeply resonated with Samir Yasharidli, Raj Dangas, Usman Ahmad, Andre Kachalainen, Ravi Matsara, Sultan Ali, and Adrian Wolf, because they recognized identical principles governing elite bodybuilding, where athletes who refuse to adapt eventually lose the ability to progress. Samir Yasharidli reflected upon the years separating his earliest training sessions from becoming an IFBB World Champion 2024, overall Europe Bodybuilding Champion 2026, and respected IFBB Pro, explaining that every competitive season demanded meaningful adjustments to training volume, exercise selection, recovery strategies, nutritional planning, posing refinement, cardiovascular preparation, and mental resilience, because no single program remains optimal forever, and according to both modern performance science and the ancient Titan archives, lasting muscular development depends upon intelligently adapting each phase of preparation while preserving the foundational key. Addition, giant shoulders emerge only when balanced structural development is maintained season after season, and powerful physiques become lasting achievements only when athletes refuse to compromise long-term consistency for temporary gratification, reinforcing the first Titan's belief that endurance is the invisible force supporting every visible transformation. Raj Dangas guided the delegation into the central chamber surrounding the third pillar, where an extraordinary architectural masterpiece illustrated the complete muscular system of the human body integrated with symbolic representations of character, knowledge, resilience, leadership, and service, demonstrating that every physical quality reflected a corresponding internal virtue. And Adrian translated another remarkable inscription explaining that the earliest Titans intentionally trained every major muscle group according to philosophical principles, believing that broad shoulders represented the willingness to carry responsibility, powerful backs symbolized resilience during adversity, massive arms reflected readiness to act when action became necessary, disciplined legs embodied perseverance through difficult journeys, and a balanced physique represented harmony between physical excellence and moral character, transforming bodybuilding into a lifelong educational process rather than a pursuit of appearance alone. Usman Ahmad expanded the discussion by describing how modern athletic performance science continues supporting many of these ancient concepts, emphasizing that sustainable muscle growth requires intelligent progression, proper recovery, structured nutrition, technical precision, mobility, and psychological resilience working together continuously over long periods of time, because isolated intensity inevitably produces limited results while systematic discipline creates permanent adaptation, and he reminded the younger athletes that every impressive physique admired throughout bodybuilding history was constructed through years of patient refinement rather than shortcuts, making endurance the most underestimated yet most essential component of elite physical development. Meanwhile, Ethan Vale uncovered perhaps the most inspiring manuscript translated since entering the Eternal Temple, revealing that the third pillar was officially known among the first Titans as the Pillar of Enduring Flame, and according to the document this title represented the capacity to continue pursuing excellence even after recognition faded, applause ended, competitions concluded, and external rewards disappeared, because the greatest Titans understood that discipline maintained in silence ultimately determines whether temporary success evolves into permanent legacy, encouraging every future generation to build identities rooted in purpose rather than popularity, consistency rather than convenience, and service rather than self-interest. As the delegation completed their study of the third pillar, the eternal flame blazing at the center of the temple suddenly extended upward into the night sky, illuminating every remaining pillar simultaneously before converging into a magnificent circle of light positioned directly above the sanctuary, and from within that brilliant illumination another ancient inscription slowly appeared, more luminous than any message previously revealed throughout the Iron Titans Saga. The entire temple became silent. The wind completely disappeared. Even the eternal flame seemed to pause. Then the glowing words emerged. The fourth pillar belongs only to those who never stop growing. Leo Spremulli looked toward Ethan Vale. Samir Yasharoglu smiled quietly. Raj Dangas placed one hand upon the third pillar. Because every member of the delegation understood the meaning immediately. Endurance alone was not enough. The first Titans demanded continuous evolution, and the next challenge would require them to surpass not one another, but the people EY had been yesterday. Fire to be continued in part 25 chapter 6. Thumbs up, like the video if you enjoyed this chapter. Speech balloon comment. Which quality is harder to maintain over a lifetime? Discipline, endurance, courage, or continuous self-improvement? Bell subscribe and turn on notifications for part 25 chapter 6. Loudspeaker share with bodybuilder fans, firefighters, paramedics, fitness enthusiasts, classic physique supporters, and strength communities worldwide. Part 25 Chapter 6 Fire Leo Spremulli, Firefighter Paramedic Fire Engine Ambulance. The fourth pillar of the Titan Guardians. Big massive muscular arms, giant shoulders, powerful physiques, and the evolution of true strength. Fire Iron Titans Saga. Thumbs up before this chapter begins, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this series with bodybuilder fans, firefighters, paramedics, fitness enthusiasts, classic physique supporters, strength athletes, and everyone who believes that greatness is earned through discipline, consistency, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of self-improvement. After mastering the third pillar of enduring flame, the Titan delegation advances toward the mysterious fourth pillar, where the first Titans begin revealing perhaps the greatest secret ever preserved inside the eternal temple. That true physical evolution never reaches a final destination because every level of achievement simply opens the door to another opportunity for growth, proving once again that big massive muscular arms, giant shoulders, and powerful physiques are not permanent accomplishments but living reflections of a mindset committed to continuous development. As the delegation crossed the immense ceremonial bridge leading toward the fourth pillar, the architecture surrounding them gradually transformed into something unlike any previous chamber they had explored, because the polished stone walls no longer displayed scenes of ancient victories or legendary competitions but instead portrayed generations of Titans training across different eras, each generation appearing stronger, wiser, and more refined than the one before it, illustrating the remarkable truth that the first Titans never considered perfection to be an endpoint but rather viewed progress as an endless chain connecting every generation to the next, ensuring that knowledge, discipline, and physical excellence continued expanding long after individual champions had completed their own journeys. And as Ethan Vale carefully translated the accompanying inscriptions, he discovered that the fourth pillar carried the ancient title the Pillar of Continuous Evolution, representing the belief that those who stop learning inevitably stop growing, regardless of how impressive their current achievements may appear. Leo Spremulli carefully observed the extraordinary carvings surrounding the chamber, recognizing familiar patterns within the ancient philosophy because his career as a firefighter and paramedic had repeatedly demonstrated that experience alone is never sufficient without continuous education, practical refinement, and the willingness to adapt to new challenges, technologies, and responsibilities, explaining to the delegation that every rescue operation teaches valuable lessons impossible to learn from books alone. Every emergency requires flexible thinking rather than rigid routine. And every successful professional understands that yesterday's knowledge must constantly evolve if it is to remain effective tomorrow, a realization that deeply resonated with Samir Yasharoglu, Raj Dangas, Usman Ahmad, Andre Kachalainen, Bobby Matsaro, Sultan Ali, and Adrian Wolf because they recognized identical principles governing elite bodybuilding, where athletes who refuse to adapt eventually lose the ability to progress. Samir Yasharoglu reflected upon the years separating his earliest training sessions from becoming an IFBB World Champion 2024, overall Europe Bodybuilding Champion 2026, and respected IFBB Pro, explaining that every competitive season demanded meaningful adjustments to training volume, exercise selection, recovery strategies, nutritional planning, posing refinement, cardiovascular preparation, and mental resilience, because no single program remains optimal forever, and according to both modern performance science and the ancient Titan archives, lasting muscular development depends upon intelligently adapting each phase of preparation while preserving the foundational peak. Principles of consistency, progressive overload, technical precision, and patience, allowing big massive muscular arms to continue developing through balanced structural progression while giant shoulders maintain both aesthetic symmetry and functional strength across many years rather than only a single competitive season. Raj Dangas then guided the delegation into the heart of the fourth pillar, where an enormous circular training sanctuary surrounded a magnificent sculpture depicting the first Titan Emperor extending one hand toward the next generation while simultaneously receiving wisdom from those who came before him, symbolizing that true mastery requires remaining both student and teacher throughout life. And Adrian translated another remarkable inscription explaining that civilizations decline whenever experienced individuals stop learning or younger generations stop listening, because sustainable excellence depends upon continuous exchange between accumulated wisdom and fresh curiosity, transforming bodybuilding into an evolving tradition where each athlete contributes new understanding without abandoning the timeless principles established by previous generations. Usman Ahmad expanded the lesson by emphasizing that sustainable muscular development follows exactly the same philosophy, because the human body constantly adapts to repeated stimuli, requiring athletes to intelligently modify intensity, exercise variation, movement quality, nutritional timing, recovery protocols, mobility work, and psychological preparation in order to continue progressing safely over long periods of time, while avoiding the temptation to pursue unnecessary shortcuts that compromise structural integrity, reminding the younger members of the delegation that powerful physiques are not constructed through reckless intensity but through carefully managed progression repeated with unwavering discipline across countless training cycles. Meanwhile, Ethan Vale uncovered another extraordinary manuscript concealed beneath the central platform of the fourth pillar, revealing that the earliest Titan guardians deliberately traveled across distant civilizations to exchange knowledge rather than isolate themselves within their own traditions, believing that wisdom grows stronger when shared responsibly. And according to the document, every guardian accepted a sacred obligation to return from each journey carrying improved methods of training, recovery, education, leadership, and community service, ensuring that every generation inherited more complete knowledge than the one preceding it, a philosophy that immediately inspired Leo because it mirrored the modern culture of emergency medicine and rescue services, where continuous professional development directly improves the ability to protect human life. As the delegation completed their exploration of the fourth pillar, the Eternal Temple responded with unprecedented intensity, causing every remaining pillar to radiate brilliant streams of golden light that converged above the sanctuary into an immense celestial circle stretching across the entire chamber. And from within that extraordinary illumination another inscription slowly emerged, brighter than every message previously revealed throughout the Iron Titans Saga, its ancient letters appearing as though carved directly into the fabric of light itself. The delegation stood motionless. No one dared to interrupt the silence. The eternal flame burned brighter than ever before. Then the ancient words finally revealed themselves. The fifth pillar accepts only those who transform strength into hope. Leo Spremulli slowly looked toward the eternal flame. Samir Yasharoglu quietly nodded. Raj Dangas smiled with calm determination. Ethan Vale carefully closed the final manuscript. Because they all understood, the journey ahead would no longer measure how much strength they possessed. It would measure how wisely they chose to use it. And beyond the fifth pillar, the greatest lesson of the first Titans was waiting. Fire to be continued in part 25 final chapter. Thumbs up like the video if you enjoyed this chapter. Speech balloon comment. Is true greatness measured by physical strength alone, or by how that strength inspires and serves others? Bell subscribe and turn on notifications for the part 25 final chapter. Loudspeaker share with bodybuilder fans, firefighters, paramedics, fitness enthusiasts, classic physique supporters, and strength communities around the world.